Hey everybody, welcome back to the studio. Well, in a video a few weeks ago, I brought up something that I've talked about repeatedly, but I've never done a video on, so I figured I should probably do a video on it. And that is talking about the custom shooting modes or custom functions or custom settings on your cameras. A lot of people ask me when I'm teaching, what's that mode for? I explain to what it's about and they look at me and go, why would I ever use it? And I explain why I use it and they go, I'd never use it. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what it is, how I use it, and if it's actually going to work for you. So first of all, what is a custom shooting mode or a custom setting? It is you going in and setting up the camera as you would use it in a certain situation. So, perfect example, the Canon 70D that I'm recording this video on is my studio camera. If somebody comes in wanting copy work done of large artwork, this is the camera that I use for that. When I go into the studio, I take the camera, I turn it to custom setting 1. Well, on the 70D, there's only one. And then I go into the studio, turn on my studio lights, and then I can start taking pictures. That's it. Don't have to change anything. Don't have to change the white balance. Don't have to change the mode. Don't have to change the ISO. Don't have to change the aperture, the shutter speed, anything. It's already set when I change the custom function, because that's what I programmed into it. Custom functions, custom shooting modes are perfect if you do something on a regular basis. They don't work very well if you don't do it on a regular basis because you forget what you set it up for. So if you do something repeatedly, use it. Now, this camera, the 5D Mark IV, when I put it onto this lens, I mentioned in the video that I set up the custom shooting mode to be exactly what the 70D was and that I'd been using for years for this camera. Because the 70D that was on this lens was set up to do my wildlife photography. And I had certain things like aperture priority set up. Minimum aperture was f9. I had it on auto ISO, which I'm going to talk about in a future video. I had it on auto white balance. I had a bunch of stuff set up. So when I went out to take pictures, all I had to do on the 70D was to go to custom setting on that camera, which was on that lens, and it automatically had everything that I would use for shooting birds or animals or anything like that. So I set that up in the 5D Mark IV under the first custom setting. The 5D Mark IV has 3 custom settings. Played around with it for a few days. Then I decided that I didn't like everything there, so I made some changes. When I made the changes, I then set that up in the custom setting 2. Played around with that for a little bit. Then I set it up so that I wanted it different again, and I saved that into the custom setting 3. So now I have 3 custom settings, and when I go out and shoot nature and wildlife, mainly wildlife, I can go to custom 1, and it'll be just like what the 70D was. I can go to custom 2, which is an improvement, which I think is an improvement on the 70D, or I can go to custom setting 3, which is an improvement on the 70D again, which I think, with multi-focus points engaged. All different things for the different custom settings. Now, I'll probably get rid of custom setting 1 because honestly, I like the other 2 better than how I had the 70D set up when it's on the 5D Mark IV. So I can just go in and delete that custom setting, move something into there from one of the other custom settings, or make something new so that when I go out, all I have to do is go to that custom setting and it's there automatically. Let's say if I wanted to use this camera in studio. Well, I could set up the custom setting 1 to shoot birds with a single focus point. I could set up this camera on custom setting 2 to shoot birds with multi-focus points. And then under custom setting 3, I could set it up so that this camera was set up to shoot in my studio. Wouldn't have to worry what I shot yesterday, 5 minutes ago, what the settings were. All I would do is change it. Now, do I do it for more different shoots or different assignments and stuff? Honestly, no. Because if I did it, all the assignments would have to be the same. And lighting conditions and shooting situations and everything is different in every assignment that I go to. So I really don't have a need to do that for photo assignments. But if I was doing something repeatedly, let's say I went to do headshots at a company and I did half the employees today and I was going back tomorrow, I could set my camera up so that one of the custom settings was what I was shooting today. And then when I go back tomorrow, I just have to go to that setting and everything will be like it was yesterday. So if I went out and shot birds that night, if I went out and shot a banquet later or anything like that, I don't have to worry, do I remember my settings? I just have to go to that custom setting that I had the day before and use it from there. But honestly, I don't do it that much where I go back to the same place over and over that I need that. So why set it up? Now, this is the problem that most people are going to run into. There's no sense setting up a custom setting if you don't do pictures over and over again in the same situation, because you won't remember what you did for those custom settings. Believe me, I've forgotten many times. What was custom 3 again? I don't remember. What was custom 2? It's been so long. But you can set it up if you do it repeatedly. Perfect example, soccer season, baseball season, hockey season. You have kids in sports and you go into the arena, you start taking pictures, you get the perfect settings, you can save that into a custom setting. If you have kids playing soccer, you can go take pictures. If you start getting great pictures, you can save all those settings into custom settings and it will remember it. So next time you go, you just go there and away you go. Now, how do you set it up? Pretty simple. You set your camera up as it's going to be used. So the mode you're going to use, the ISO, the shutter speed, the aperture, if that's what you're programming, the white balance, the focus points, everything that you need, you set up. Then you go into the menu and you go to set custom setting. And on this camera, the 5D Mark IV, you select 1, 2, or 3. You select that number and then you say save it. And that now is saved as that custom setting. You can play around with it. You can do a bunch of other stuff. And then you can save that as number 2. If you have a number 3, you can change it again and save as number 3. Now, are you tied into only those settings? No. If you want to change those settings on the fly, you can do that. So for instance, this camera, custom setting 1, is set up for f9 as the aperture. But let's say I wanted it at f8. Well, I can turn it to f8 like that. I can take some pictures and it will now be at f8. If the camera goes into sleep mode or I shut the camera off, that custom setting comes back and puts the f9 back in there. That's how I got it set up. If I wanted to change the white balance, I could do that. I could change the white balance. I could have a different white balance. I could take some pictures, and when the camera goes to sleep or I shut the camera off, that white balance would revert back to what I had set in the custom settings. That's why it's so good. You can change stuff, but you know you can get back easily. Works great. Now, on some cameras, beware. Some cameras, if you change your custom settings, it is set up so that those custom settings become the default. If you don't want it to do that, make sure you check or uncheck, depending upon your camera, the box under your custom settings that say save settings when changed, or whatever other words that they use. Having it change your settings, your custom settings, whenever you change them, to me is a stupid idea. Because if I wanted them changed all the time, why would I be using custom setting? It just doesn't make sense. So I always have it, so I have to manually go in and save the new settings so that they're correct and so that they're in where I want them to go. So that's it. Again, do I think many people are going to use it? Probably not. Do I think that it's a great thing to use? In the right situation, it's an amazing thing. I can go out and be ready to take pictures in seconds. I can be here in the studio and be ready to take pictures in seconds just by turning that knob to the custom shooting mode that I have programmed in there, and away you go. So if you use it, put a comment down below. If you haven't used it and you want to try it, put a comment down below. Get out there, take some amazing pictures. I'll talk to you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.